Hey, hey. Good morning. This is going to be the tutorial on how to actually set up industry, not just do the math, and obviously we start with static core. Some of this stuff will be a bit slow, so obviously when that happens I'm going to speed up a bit, but I will start rather slow. Just saying. Okay, first of all, obviously static core, and I've seen some people actually doing this a bit more complicated than it has to be. First of all, when placing a static core, I highly recommend just already moving in with the arrow keys by any amount, just so we can actually move around, have a look at, where are my borders now? Where's that corner? Where's that corner? You know, that kind of thing. Wouldn't want to have something where it's supposed to be. The other thing is that currently that static core is, well, the build zone is half in the ground, which is a bit of a waste because I'm definitely not going to dig out the ground to have a nice basement. So now I'm just going to hold T and scroll my mouse wheel and go a bit higher and higher. That is a bit too high. I do want the ground to be within. So I'm going to have a bit of a basement essentially. And that is a position that I want to go for. Hooray! I have no idea. How the what? So much for that. Okay, no, corners are still in. Okay, that's a great start for an industry tutorial. Those. Why does it just tell me? And the first thing, obviously, now that you have that thing in midair, the moment you've placed it, you are in build mode. Don't leave build mode without first doing this, which is just, you know, getting the core to the ground again. Otherwise, you will be unable to enter build mode again afterwards, which would be rather stupid. Okay, I'm just gonna place it there. Hooray! Now, obviously, if I want to go into build mode, I can go into build mode. If I hadn't moved the core down, I would now be a bit screwed. Okay, so I got the platform here. I've got Troxel inside. Got the lovely backdrop. Brand recognition screen. I'm ready to go. Now, what you want to do is obviously have the amount of audio correct, and you want to have the amount of machines correct. So obviously you don't want to have 200 hematite refiners running in order to make one adjuster per hour. So you want to have everything in the right ratio. How do you do that? Oh, just check. So I'll just look at adjuster. These are character without any talents. 32 minutes for one adjuster L. Well, I don't want to have one adjuster L, I want to have 20. So, how much do I need then? Per hour. Because I'm lazy, I'm just gonna, you know, say that it's half an hour. So, I want to make 2 adjusters per hour per machine, but I want to have 20 machines. So, currently, I'm at 2 per hour times 20 means I want to make 80 per hour. Okay, that of course means I need 80 basic standard frames per hour, 80 basic gas cylinder per hour, M, and 80 times 25, 80 times 36 pipes and injectors per hour. But if I want to have 80 per hour and they take 6 minutes each, that means I'm currently, one machine would make 10 per hour. So I would want to have 8 machines making those frames. But if one machine makes 10 per hour, 8 machines are going to make 80 per hour, and 80 per hour is the amount that I'm aiming for. The gas cylinder here takes a bit longer, so for that I don't want to have 8 machines. I actually want to have 12 machines plus 50%, given that it takes 50% longer to be made. Again, however, for that I now need the 25 screws each. So, I have to do the math for that, and I have to do the math for the cinnamon. And that is the moment where you want to start writing it down. Because when you do industry, either do it for fun, don't care about all the money that you lose, but then you could just as well do the spreadsheets and the math because they're part of the fun. Or you're doing it for the money, and if you're doing it for the money, you have to do the spreadsheets and you have to do it in an efficient way. Otherwise, you're going to lose money, and that is the moment where I should probably say, could you watch the other video on how to do the math? Because that is going to come in rather handy if you haven't done that yet. But let's assume you did all the math, you figured it out, you maybe already have other talents and make that stuff faster. Let's just assume all of that and just go straight to the actual setting up. Because we did enough math in the last video. And I think you should be smart enough to figure out how to get the numbers right. Especially with those 2 examples I gave. You just have to do that now for an hour and then you have all the numbers. Hooray! There are also a few calculators on the internet where you can just, check those numbers. So, let's get straight to actually placing those machines. And I want to start with a few L containers to actually store the ore. So, precision mode is important. So, these are the arrow keys here. One advantage of using those is, of course, you can now look at that mighty container from all angles and see how container shaped it is. It's it's a great container. I love looking at it from all sides. What an exciting shape. The other thing is obviously you can place them much neater. In order to place them much neater, what you do, and instead of using left mouse button now, I press enter. And now that forecast or whatever, what you want to call it, when placing the container is now going to be exactly where I placed the last container because I pressed enter. So now I can go to the side, use the arrow key again, and place another container, which is now going to be exactly in line. Ooh, sweet! If I hold control, I can move it even faster. And you will notice that with a lot of items, especially with the containers, they are actually always a multiple of the 8 ticks that you move something. Except for when you place those up, in which case you always have to go another 2 small steps. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Small step, small step. So quick, so easy, so in line. Ah, lovely. Okay, that is meant to be my ore storage where everything starts. I'm just going to place those here for the time being, but I will place them in a nicer position then. Obviously now I want to connect all of those to the hubs. Alright, time for the refiners. And those again you can place in the same way. And I like placing just to the edge where I can place them, and then I go 1 step away. And again with placing those, I want to have those in a nice line now. Place it with enter. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's apparently how I can place them. And now that I got that rhythm, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can do that a bit faster. Oh, now you can hear the keyboard, but it's kind of actually good that you can hear the keyboard right now. Sorry for those who don't like listening to my keyboard, but it's good for making the point. And here we now run into a minor issue. You see how 1, 2, 1, 2. That doesn't cut it. Now I have to go far further. Five steps back. You see how those are not lined up, and that is a minor issue with your universe. And you, when you use that precision mode to place things, will run into that issue all the time. And the issue is just that different elements need a different amount of space from each other depending on, well, from where you place which to where. Space engines L are rather known and notorious for that, and that means you may be able to place stuff closer together depending from where you start. So with refiners, you definitely want to place them in this direction, and you can, if you do, you can place them closer together. Which, by the way, also means that if you want to later take one of those out, you won't be able to place it in again. And that is really annoying. But let's just assume we're placing those for eternity, you know. Why would you ever move anything? Now comes the fun part. My hematite is in here. Well, more precisely in here. Now, I want those machines to have an input from here. They take the hematite from here, refine into iron, and output the iron over there. I have 2 containers there for a reason. We will get to that. So what I got to do now is, of course, with the connect tool, which is that chain link thing there, go from here to there, and now from there to there. One thing that I would like to note is that you don't want to do this, where you first connect all of the inputs and then connect all of the outputs. You can, but the thing is now, if I now want to do the outputs, I have to be like, okay, wait, do I have the output for that? I have the output. Do I have the output for that already? Ah, good. Okay, I don't. So that one I have. Do I have? Do I? I mean, I know I have the, because I just done it. But as you connect more and more, it gets a bit harder to remember, and then you're in a situation where, like, okay, did I? Well, this one I did connect. Did I connect that one? I mean, you can now, of course, painstakingly look at this, and you see the little purple line. That if you look at that point there, you see that purple line. Okay, that guy already has an output, and that one, and that one, and that one. But it may be a bit hard to see. And here I see now, okay, that guy doesn't have an output yet. However, it's usually much easier if you just do the input and output for machine at a time, because now you see those are red, this is green. That's the first one that is green. And if you do it like that, you can just remember that every time you've done the input, and it's either red or it's green, either I've done it or I haven't done it, and wherever I haven't done the input, I'll do the input, and then directly, while I'm still mousing over that thing there, I'll now do the output. And that usually means that you can't screw it up. Especially, this is tedious, it takes forever, and you may get a bit tired, and you may want to watch Netflix on the side. So, yeah, just minimize the amount of mistakes that you make if you pay attention. And I should now have 5 connected to this one here, and 5 connected to that one there. And that I'm going to do for the rest now. Okay, so far so beautiful. By the way, if you want to see all of the connections, hold control. While we're at it, you know, talk about shortcuts. Hold control if you want to see all connections. So far it looks rather tidy. And if you control left click a certain machine, you can then see the connections for that certain machine. Just as a side note while we're doing that. Now what I have to do is I want to have the schematics in there. So, this is a very quick and easy. I'll be a bit easier if I type in pure, so I have all of those. I want to have... I suck at making videos. Anyway, you do not want to set them to infinite in general, while in this case it wouldn't really matter too much, because when you're making iron and oxygen, and the oxygen I'm going to pull out, you're going to see that in a moment, it does make sense to have them on maintain on a certain level, because then you kind of stagger the numbers and see how many active at a given time. The other thing is that on other machines, you don't want to have multiple machines do an input into a container, because if you do, you may be producing loads and loads of one thing, but the other thing is made a bit slower, and then you essentially clog up your container with the one thing that you're putting in, and there's no room for the other thing that you want to have in there as well. So it's actually just good practice to generally set them to maintain a certain level. Just get used to it, even though it's just another extra step, and that will probably work well. I'm doing 40k there now, and I'm going to do 42k in the next one, and you see how this is going to be beneficial later. Actually, I'm only really showing this at the end of the video. Whatever, back to the normal voice recording. Hello, old gotcha. On the next machine, I go for 44k, and you know, see, I've got the whole thing staggered. Now, because I have it staggered, that means that as long as only a bit of iron is taken out of there, only the machine with the highest number will jump into action. And if only the machine with the highest number jumps into action, and the others are still off, then it is rather easy for you, from the outside, to see how much you are actually using right now. It means that if all machines are running, then obviously all machines are actually required. And if only one machine is running, then everything is in order. Now, the machines are still going to produce the same amount, no matter where you place them, whether in a nice formation like this, or behind some wall, or chaotically. The machines still work. Whether you stagger them or not, the machines are still going to work. But if you have some kind of a system, it's just easier for you, the human, to see what the hell is going on. Makes it easier for you to see if there's maybe a bottleneck somewhere. And that will enable you to make decisions in regards to where to add machines. And for this first part here, of that little test adjuster thingy, it doesn't matter that much. But should you ever build any kind of larger factory, at the moment where I want to look at a larger factory, only a fraction of it is loaded anyway, then it will be very helpful if you are already used to some kind of a system, you know. So better start early with small things like that. And that is why I have those staggered. Okay, I'm gonna do that for all now. Right, with a lovely green. Now, one thing is obviously, I am on the side producing hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon is doing both. When I go for aluminum, I get hydrogen. For the silicon and hematite, out of those I get oxygen. I don't want that. I get the stuff, but I don't want that stuff. So, what do I do with it? So, what you may want to do, what you should do, is have a lovely large container somewhere in the corner. And now I want that in line with that one. How do I do that in line? I just mouse over, doesn't matter if you have a tool in your hand or not, and I click U. That still would have worked with the container in my hand. It's a bit harder to see. And if you have now marked something with U, not only is that nice to look at because it's yellow, but also if you are now in line with whatever you marked yellow, whatever you're placing turns yellow as well. So now I see, oh, now it's in line. And what I want to do is have a bit of a distance. Okay, lovely. And I want to have a container for hydrogen. And one for oxygen. So, doing exactly what I did there earlier. What did I not? Oh. I do want to have this little wooden thing here again. Because it's so nice looking. But I like it. And I need a hop again. Obviously, again, I first need to connect those to that thing there. Because I want to suck the oxygen and hydrogen out of those tanks. Well, I don't want to have it in those tanks. It's got to build up, and I've got loads of hydrogen in there, oxygen in there. Why would I want to have that? That is now the point where I'm going to use the only 2 transfer units for the whole thing. So, where will I have oxygen? I'm going to have oxygen where the iron is made. I'm going to have oxygen where the silicon is made. And I'm going to have oxygen where the carbon, well, the coal is being made. But those are for the oxygen. And oxide refining and coal refining are going to give me hydrogen. Okay. So the hydrogen I'm just going to catch there. And the oxygen I'm going to put into there. And I usually put the transfer unit to the container where I pull stuff in. So as I'm pulling into those containers there, I'm now placing those transfer units here. Easier to identify what's actually going on. This machine now I'm actually gonna have run on infinite. Because I want to have all the oxygen, take it out of that system there and put it in here. And here I'm going to take all the hydrogen that I can get and put it into that container. And if you look here, if you click on containers, you can already see quite the amount of hydrogen has been produced already. And now day and night that hydrogen is going to be pulled out of those containers, and the oxygen is going to be pulled out of those containers and go in there. That also means that eventually you may want to delete it. I will use some of the hydrogen that I'm producing here, but none of the oxygen. So whenever you go and empty the containers with whatever you made, in this case adjusters, you do want to check if you aren't full on oxygen, just delete it. If you are making fuel, then obviously you will find a use for the oxygen and the hydrogen. If you don't make fuel where you are producing, then no. And also, if you're producing a lot and only make fuel for yourself, you will not actually use, you will not need that much. Why aren't you running? Oh. Got a 0 here, did I? Lovely. Yeah, you will likely have too much oxygen. You want to get rid of it. And that also, by the way, means that if you make a lot of fuel, or don't make other stuff, and you want to have a lot of hydrogen, your friendly neighborhood industrialist won't have an issue, if at least if you pick up to just give you 1 million hydrogen or oxygen. I wouldn't care. Okay, so now I have my pures. And as a general thing with the industry, unless we're talking about scrap, unless we're talking about fuel or honeycomb, so those 3 are a bit different. But every other industry, you first have to turn your ores into pures, and then you have to turn your pures into product. That is stainless steel, silicon, alpha, glass, and polycarbonate plastic. You need those products, and then using those products, you will make other parts, and then finally have your final thing. You don't need, let's say, iron anywhere in the process. You need steel. So what we need now then, of course, is smelters to turn those pure thingies that we made, turn them into products. So for the stuff that I'm making, I actually only need steel, silicon, and polycarbonate plastic. Adjusters don't need any conductor metal, so no alpha, and they don't need any glass. So I'm gonna have 3 rows of things here in a moment. Okay. Now you may have noticed in between already that I've placed a few more containers than would seem necessary. First of all, not all 10 refiners here for, let's say, the coal go into the same container. Instead, I've got those 5 going to the higher one, and those 5 there going to the lower one. So, you may remember that. From those, I go into each. But then from those, these 5 here go into the higher one, and these 5 here go into the lower one. Now why do I do that? Because I've got to save on connections. There's a rule in regards to how many connections every machine, every container can have. Every container can have 10 connections in and 10 connections out. Every machine, however, can only have 7 connections in, and of course only 1 out. And due to that restriction, it may be useful to split up your stuff. Because you see, I've got 6 machines here who want to have that sweet carbon. But I also have 6 machines over there which want to have carbon. Those want to have it for steel. Those do want to have it for the polycarbonate plastic in a moment. That means I've got 12 machines that want to have access to carbon. And if I was to expand, that would be even more. So right from the start, I already have 2 different containers here. Now, from this one, I can have 6 outputs for those 6. So, 6 for the plastic from here, and 6 for the steel from here. And the other ones I did split up as well. And that will be necessary then later if I decide to expand this factory a bit. Now, I'm saying a bit because if you want to expand it a lot, you want to have a different setup. And now that kind of different setup for large factories, I'm obviously going to demonstrate on my bit larger factory. But as this is a bit more of an introduction video, an introduction or medium video, and not an endgame video, endgame? Progressive game video. Obviously, I'm slowing down here a bit. So now I'll still need to put the product schematics into those, and then we're going to continue with actual machines. And again, I'm going to have those staggered. So I'm going to be like, hey, you make 40,000 steel, you make 42,000 steel, you make 44, and then again 40, 42, 44 in order to have them staggered. The whole thing why I have them staggered, you'll see that once those guys are actually close to filling their number that they are supposed to have. So again, a quick round of connecting stuff. And by connecting, I mean putting the schematic in. Okay, here comes the fun part. I do want to have one L container with all the stuff for 10 M assemblers for the adjuster L. I want to have the same thing for the adjusters M. And I want to have one container for my adjusters S and XS. S and XS, M, L, another L. So those I now want to fill with the different parts. And lucky me, I already did the math at some other point. So, for the frames, the idea is I have 4 machines for the M frames, 2 machines for the S frames, and 1 machine for the XS frames. Lovely. So those are metal industry, which are very metal. So I want to have 2 here. I want to have 2 here. I want to have 2 here and 1 here. Did I do that right? Was 4, 2, 1. Yes. And for the cylinder, I want to do 6, 3, 1. Okay. So 6 in 2 groups of 3. Don't worry, I'm gonna have them need later. Hey, where'd it go there? What do I have? Is that too low? Okay. 6 there. 3 here. And 1 there. Lovely. Oh, that part isn't overly lovely. Don't know how that happened. Hey, give me Additionally, I need to have my screws, and for my basic screws I want to have 15 machines, 3 times 5, and for the no, actually different, I want to have those 9 and 6, and I want to have the 30 basic injectors. Ooh. So let's have the basic injectors over here. And now I already see the problem. I have 30 machines that want to have plastic. So I need 30 outputs for plastic. I only have 10 per machine here. So let's quickly change that. 2 machines each. Which now obviously means that I'll have to change the numbers on those in a moment. We'll come to that. There, I've got those there. I've got those there. I don't have the pipes yet. And the pipes I want to have 433 actually. Again, those are required at the end here for the adjuster itself. We'll have the pipes in there, the injectors in there, and the screws are only for intermediary stuff for the cylinder and the injector. So, basic pipes are obviously made in metalworks industry. I don't know why I still have leftovers there at the moment. I see for the... No, I'm confused. Great. But let's place those for the basic pipes. There we go. Those are for the frames. Those are for the cylinders. The ones I have right now are for the pipes. Yeah. And those I will want to have 2 groups of 3. Again, those I will make a bit tidier later. And then those 4, and I should probably already put the schematics in to know what I'm doing here. So the issue was apparently screws. Good, speaking of screws, so I want to make screws, those 9 guys are supposed to make screws, put those screws into those containers, from where those guys then take those screws and the polycarbonate plastic, turn them into injectors, put those injectors in there, and those injectors are then of course taken by my assemblers, which I haven't even placed yet. Let's connect that. Now, with all of that being connected, I should now be able to finally turn on the whole screw machine here. And I've got space for loads of them, but I think I'm gonna put them on 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And you probably noticed already now that I have some talents. Me not only do I make them faster, but also more efficient. Instead of turning 20 into 20, turning 20 into 30. And I also do that rather fast. Right, now that those pipe guys are in order, I want to something similar with the pipe guys. The pipes that they are producing are again going to be directly taken by the assemblers at the end. They're going to make the adjusters. So what I need to do here is have 3 containers with pipes, because otherwise I can't, you know, have enough connections for the sorry, for the 30 assemblers that I plan on having. So while they are going to be fed from the same thing, it goes into different containers then. So what do I have so far? First of all, my injectors don't get enough screws. I should have gone through one circle already, so I'm slightly confused. I apparently got the numbers wrong there. Maybe some of the other were to... I'll have a look at that later. So, I in theory, to some degree, have my injectors, but I probably don't give them enough screws. Or do they currently still have enough plastic? What's going on here? It's the amount of screws. I'm gonna have a look at that later, because I'm a slow thinker. Good. In theory, I have my injectors. In theory, I do now have my pipes. Now, the assemblers, which are eventually going to be somewhere over there, don't need screws, but the cylinders actually do need screws. And those are my frames. They will only need silicone. We come to that. But here, we have the gas cylinders. So, those guys, they do need... Where was I? Screws? Pipes? What are they? There? Sorry, what do you need? Screws. That's what I meant to say. Yes. Here I'm producing... those guys will be able to make screws for those gas cylinders. So they are going to take steel from there, put it into one container altogether, all into one container here, and from that container, those guys for the gas cylinders take from there. And I may find out that I'm producing far too many screws, because maybe some of those guys here for the screws actually are supposed to make stuff for the injectors. I did the math wrong in between. We'll see about that. so now I do need some container here again. S is going to be plenty big enough. Let's connect again. You probably saw that I needed another cinnamon container here. Because not only do my gas cylinders need a cinnamon, but those guys need cinnamon as well for their frames. Meaning, those here for the frames, those for the cylinders, and those for the, no, those are screws, those guys for the pipes. That's more than 20 connections, so obviously I need 3 containers. Right. But, no, so we're getting close to having to check what's even still missing. We obviously still need frames. Right, time to clean it up a bit. Let's group it nicely. Those are the gas cylinders. Okay, so as you can see, I tidied it up a bit. They look a bit nicer, but hey, it's still the same stuff. Those containers I had before. I now placed my assemblers, and that is going to be my output. I haven't connected my output yet. And I haven't connected my input yet either. And I have them the wrong way around, actually. yeah, I have them. Whatever. Okay, so this one here is for those guys. This one here is for the medium guys. And the other 2 are for the L guys. I'm going to connect that now, and then I have a look at what's missing. What is even missing? We're going to find out in a moment. Stay tuned for the secret of what is missing. So, what is missing? Wait, what? You don't have an output? Yeah, well, missing output container is a bit of an issue. Whoopsie. What's now missing? Pipes and injectors. Yeah, I see. Those injectors are for the bottom now. Yep. Those only for those. So, then let's connect the injectors. Hooray! Everybody has injectors now, but what about pipes? Yes. Pipes. Those I already connect here. Little trick here. I mean, why not just move those guys? And the order doesn't matter, you see that in a moment. Even though they do look a bit stupid here, let's just continue. Okay, you see they're all already jumping to life. They are again in a staggered way. And one thing about these containers here, you may wonder what I don't like to go for infinite production. And infinite is the issue that, let's say I'm making my frames faster than the gas cylinders. When that happens, and I always take one gas cylinder and one basic standard frame out at the same time. But imagine one is produced faster than the other, then eventually I'll just only have that, and it's not going to be used up anymore, because if the whole thing is now full with frames, no gas cylinder fits in there anymore, and if no gas cylinder fits in there anymore, nothing's being produced, and I just now have a container full of basic standard frames, and I've got assemblers which want to have more cylinders. So, depending on what you're doing, especially the moment that you have multiple things be put into one container in order for the for an assembler to have access to it. Don't let your stuff run on infinite. And about those containers, which look rather stupid now, remember that undo doesn't do anything about connections. So if I now just undo the part where I placed them over here, and they're therefore back here, they're still connected. They are now still nicely connected. It doesn't look overly spaghetti if you only look at some part here. So those are now nicely connected still, but they're back to the place where they were. And those 9 containers are now, within 24 hours, they should be filled with 1,000 each. Actually, the top one is going to be filled with 500 adjuster L. The middle one, again, 500 adjuster L, so 1,000 in total. And that bottom one here is going to be filled with 1,000 M, S, and XS. And that should happen within 24 hours. Which means I can now make a lot of adjusters. If anybody wants to buy adjusters, please hit me up. I have them. Okay. Don't worry about those guys not being green. I have some leftover pure from when I took this thing apart because it actually stood somewhere else earlier. So I just built them with what I still have. You also probably noticed I already have 1,000 of each adjuster in my pocket right now. Okay, so that concludes this here. Feel free to visit it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you want to know why did I do a certain thing in a certain way, if you want to know how did I do, I think I explained any kind of shortcut I used, but if you didn't catch something, please let me know. And given the monstrous length of this video, even though I'm gonna, well, I will have by this point that you hear it, cut out a good amount and speed up a good amount of it, it's still very long, which should probably explain why there aren't a lot of industry videos like that out there. Nobody's gonna watch them anyway. It also probably explains why people who do industry still want to have some amount of profit from doing so, because it's not just refilling the containers and just taking the stuff and selling it at 100% profit. Also, and that is now pointing back at the other video I made, all of those adjusters are a lot cheaper than how much they would cost if somebody without talent were to make them. I did the math in the other video, so I don't have to do that again now. It also explains why, if somebody without talent went through the effort of setting something like this up, and they paid the money for the schematics, and they went through the multiple hours of setting something up, they don't think about whether or not they're actually creating any amount of value. The moment you go through a lot of effort, you just assume that whatever you're producing now has more market value than whatever you put into this infernal machine. It's just not the case, however. So it doesn't matter how much effort you put into it. If you don't have the talents, you just don't make any profit. So if you do exactly this that I did here in the video, and you don't have the talents, the only thing you did is you built a very fancy machine with the ability of turning 1 million quanta into 900k quanta, which you can then sell on the market. You may just want to sell the 1 million and not put it into this machine. And if you don't have the talents yet, then you should probably not start the industry yet. Just learn the talents, and while you are learning the talents, do something else to get some money or be entertained or whatever. And once you have the talents and the money, obviously set this up. Please do a spreadsheet, please do the math. Otherwise you just mine more than necessary. You spend more time than necessary underground doing very boring things, instead of trying to find something that is more enjoyable. With that being said, I also told you we're going to have a quick look at a different style of factory. This factory, by the way, I only use those 2 transfer units. Those 2 transfer units currently out of work. However, the moment that looks nice. The moment I would actually be refining, those are not enough. I don't have any more transfer units, but I would actually need 2 each to be able to get rid of all the stuff. And since I build up the containers, loads of those containers now, with all the screws and pipes and whatever that I still had in my inventory from taking this apart, they're currently idle right now. Still running around with bloody 200 liters of silicon. Whatever. So this whole setup only requires 2 transfer units, and it requires you to occasionally delete the hydrogen and oxygen in that container unless you're making fuel. It is a very dedicated line though. It's very static. As in, every screw, every pipe that I produce in there, it's already clear where it's gonna go and where it's gonna end up. You can, however, also, if you want to, just generally produce a lot of screws or pipes or whatever, and then distribute them from there, from that one central point, to other points of your factory. And that may make a lot of sense if you have a large factory. Because I don't want to have pipes which can only end up in adjustors, and some other pipes produced somewhere else which can only end up in hydraulics, which are then used in containers or something like that. I just generally want to make pipes, and depending on what I'm building at the time, they will be put to use there. And that's what I'm doing in this factory. And you may notice a few issues. First of all, the sound is going to be rather screwed. I'm just going to leave it on, just so you're aware that there are a few minor issues in the current version of the game. So what I'm doing here is I'm just generally producing the pures, which are then put into those containers. From there, they're taken via transfer units to the smelters, and that means that, for example, this lovely guy here, wrong guy, this lovely, can I, oh great, now I'm stuck anyway. Yeah, I may want to show this factory in another video at some point in the future. I know it's only loading still, okay. So this guy obviously needs chromium, iron and carbon. And so this transfer unit here, that transfer unit there, and the transfer unit on the other side, those 3 guys are taking the chromium, the iron and the carbon and put it into that container. And this guy is turning into stainless steel. Stainless steel is put into this container. From there, the stainless steel would then be taken by this transfer unit and put in there. That transfer unit is set up to always keep 300k. And all those little smelters here actually set up again to do staggered numbers, different numbers. So this one here should be 1,000. And then the next one is 1,200, and so on and so on. And that also means I can rather quickly tell how much I'm actually needing of something. So, for example, currently, all of those normal steel guys here are green. That means I don't know... Oh, sorry, stainless steel. So, I do need a good amount of them. But those guys here are also stainless steel. They're not needed. So I do have capacity left. If I needed more stainless steel, I could do that. Those top 2 guys here are stainless steel as well. Those here on the bottom are normal steel. And as you can see, I'm still able to just keep up with it. And if this here went lower and lower, and they couldn't keep up anymore, if this was empty at some point, the output container, then that unit there would also start grabbing from the lower container, from this one here, which currently has at least 2 8 in it, and then obviously those would slowly jump into action. So I can somewhat easily see how many are needed. Even nicer here, you see how 5 of those are on, and 5 of those are not. And so I see I have capacity left over. If you set them all to infinite, or if you set them all to 10,000, then either all of them are red, or all of them are green. And if you walk past and you see all of them are green, you don't know if they are all green day and night, or they're just green now, and in 2 minutes they're going to turn red again, are inactive for the next 20 hours. So it's a lot easier to see, roughly, what percentage of your machines. Look at that. Is that beautiful? 6 out of 20. So I'll know directly which percentage of my machines is currently required for my current needs. Those guys here are glass. As you can see, my glass usage is super low. That guy here can do the job alone. Same here for the tier 2 glass and the tier 3 glass over there. So that is it with the staggered numbers that I mentioned earlier. Here, those guys are turning coal into carbon. I only need those 6 guys there. Those are idling. So currently, my coal usage is the equivalent of 6 refiners. Those are currently not needed. 6 out of 20. Silicon, I'm on a... Wait, that is already box. Silicon, I don't need any right now. Bauxite here, 1 machine is running. Iron, a few more machines are running. So my usage is currently rather low, but then in general at the factory, well, the economy is a bit weak right now, you know. So, plenty of machines are not running at full capacity. And this here is actually where I make all of my screws and pipes and stuff. Do have to say, now with the darker nights, it looks a bit nicer. And over here in that very corner, for example, is my screw production. And as you can see, those guys here are in use. The top row is not in use. So yeah, I'm currently using 10 out of 30. And those guys, they could produce if they wanted to. They're just not needed right now. And then they would jump into action one after the other. Ooh, I use a lot of uncommon screws right now. You see, the moment I see that all of my machines are on here, that's the moment when I should be like, whoa, do I need another one? Do I have a bottleneck here? Something maybe not being produced due to uncommon screws. I want to have a look at that. Obviously not doing the video. These are uncommon pipes. Uncommon pipes are apparently no problem at all. Only 3 out of 10 are currently in use. Nothing to worry about here. So that whole thing, those are the advanced... Oh, where am I? Those are advanced pipes, so only 1 out of 10 machines is currently needed for the advanced pipes. It's very easy to see what is being made. And my max capacity, if I have 10 machines and you have 10 machines, obviously max capacity is the same for you and me. But for me, it's rather easy to see if I am at max capacity, or at what capacity I am, just glancing at it. I just have to walk past and look at the models, and I can see it. And everybody likes looking at models. Anyway, so here I'm making all of those things, meaning that this container here should be full of advanced connectors. Hooray! And if any of them are needed on one of the other floors, then they are taken to another floor. That's just my refining floor again. And they are taken to this floor, and any machine on this floor that needs advanced connectors will take them from here. This is the gentleman that is moving them from the container I just looked at down here. And any machine that needs the advanced containers on this floor takes them from here. So it's branching out of loads of machines making stuff, then transfer units and containers that connect all of that and bring into one container. Then from one central container for all of this guy's advanced connectors, it's then spread out again to everywhere where it's needed. On the one hand, that means I do need a lower amount of machines. I've got a lovely flow going on, and as long as I have some kind of metal, it will find its way to where it's needed. It can never happen that I'm still able to produce screws with the cylinder that I have Sorry, steel that I have, but I don't have steel for frames. Because any steel that I have, always given a fair chance to be transformed into a frame, if they really want to. Fun fact, the more frames I'm producing in this factory, the less frames I get. Yeah, I think that concludes the video. You probably noticed by now that I just want to show off my factory. Have a nice day.